Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be ranking every Pokemon in the 35 Pokes December 2024 from worst to best, number 35 to number 1. At any point if you enjoyed this video, show your support by liking this video and subscribe to the kingdom. We're on our way to 1000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and I thank you all for all the support this year. Before we get into this video, I'll just let you know that for each Pokemon I'll try and spend no more than a minute discussing why they are in their positions. Some ones could overrun and some ones are so bad I don't even have to spend 30 seconds discussing them. Without further ado, let's begin with our worst Pokemon this month. At number 35, we have Luvdisc, the worst mon this month, and there isn't much to say regarding Luvdisc. It has no stats, so it's not strong, it's not bulky, and it has nothing to offer in the metagame whatsoever. The only thing it has going for it is it being the only Pokemon in the metagame that has access to Wish. Well, 43 HP, its wishes are not useful, and we all wish Luvdisc evolved into a Alola Mola so it could use an Eviolite, but yeah, this one is bad. At number 34, we do have Wugtrio. Perhaps I'm being too harsh towards Wugtrio, but no one has used Wugtrio for a reason. It may be the second fastest Pokemon in the format with a decent attack stat. Well, if you have no good attacks to use that attack stat with, then it's all useless in the end. Wugtrio basically floods into anything with a water resistance, and if the best coverage it has to offer is Stomping Tantrum and Throat Chop, it finds itself being very easily walled with zero defensive utility being given back in return. Even the Pokemon I denote as C rank all have something decent to offer, but Wugtrio does not, unfortunately. At number 33, we have Agent Wo-Chien, which lives quite a sad existence this month. This is the perfect example of highlighting how base stat total will not carry a Pokemon if the environment it resides in is incredibly hostile. Wo-Chien is a flawed defensive threat due to its typing riddled with weaknesses ranging from poison, to fighting, to fairy, and particularly to fire and bug. Despite Wo-Chien's ability to handle top threats like Caracosta and Morpeko effectively, it pretty much loses to every other top threat, and if you need a bulky grass type, Celebi is right here for you guys. It may share similar weaknesses, but a higher speed to and access to reliable recovery make it the better choice every single time. At number 32, we have Pachirisu, and some may wonder how I'm placing Pachirisu above a legendary Pokemon like Agent Wo-Chien, but I think it really comes down to Pachirisu being a more annoying Pokemon on paper. It has U-turn and also a HP halving move in Super Fang, in addition to Nuzzle. No one is expecting Pachirisu to keep up KOs, but you do know what you're getting into when using this Pokemon, using it for its annoying utility options. Pachirisu would have placed higher when Jolteon was legal since it was an electric immunity, but now the quest for looking for a sturdy Jolteon answers is over. Pachirisu has unfortunately been cast aside. At number 31, we have Cacturne, and unfortunately, as much as I like Cacturne as much as the next guy, but being placed into the same format as another grass type spiker with superior defensive typing and speed tier, Cacturne was always going to struggle to stand out. It does possess some unique traits to itself like a water immunity, which is good for stifling Milotic, but that's only as far as Cacturne is going to get. Like Wo-Chien, its typing is very easy to exploit, and it's even more frail than Wo-Chien and even slower. Slower than Wo-Chien. How is this even possible? Realistically, the only set that Cacturne can realistically use is a SD set with Knockoff and Sucker Punch. But other than that, I don't really see much use for Cacturne, unfortunately. At number 30, we have Walrein. In a metagame like 35 Pokes, it's inevitable that a lower tier Pokemon will end up being directly outclassed by a higher level one. Such is the case with Walrein. There isn't any particular reason you'd want to use over Milotic. Milotic lacks a fighting and rock weakness and has access to reliable recovery, in addition to the most useful defensive water move Scald, which Walrein can't get due to its ice typing. The ice typing holds it back from being bad, and overall this month, ice types range from Walrein level to being slightly inconsistent. At number 29, we have Pyukumuku. I would have enjoyed to put Pyukumuku lower, but even I have to acknowledge its position on Stolia compositions this month, though I don't think it's all that good at even doing its job. Pyukumuku is the most passive Pokemon of all time, even more passive than Cosmog. At least Teleport can pivot you out last, but Pyukumuku sees a single taunt user and is completely shut down. Even as a defensive mon with reliable recovery, I don't feel it's that good defensively. It's bulky on the side that you invest in for sure, but on the other side it's easy to exploit due to its really low HP stat. At number 28, we have Pupitar, and Pupitar has its fervent supporters within the community, but they have to admit now, in a post-Jolteon world, Pupitar just can't keep up. It's a shame our Soul Ground type is in this position, but Rock and Ground is worse off than Mono Ground, and that shows because Pupitar would be a solid Chandelure answer if Chandelure didn't click the 4x Energy Ball. The same applies to Morpeko, but you're scared of the likes of Seed Bomb. So defensively, Pupitar can't keep up, and offensively, it's slightly better. It has good attack and stabs and access to Dragon Dance, but it's very easy to revenge kill, and Milotic is everywhere to wall it. At number 27, we have Dipplin, the strongest of the C-rank warriors. Dipplin's another NFE that has a lot going for it. It's a respectively bulky Mon and doesn't lose Eviolite via knockoff thanks to its ability Sticky Hold. It also possesses reliable recovery, so what's going wrong here? Well, first of all, Toxicroak being added after the Lockix ban does not help its usage, and even Lockix was annoying for Dipplin. And secondly, Appleton is also in the tier. It ends up being a more consistent Chandelure check since Thick Fat makes it a fire resist, and also gets rid of its 4x Ice Sweetness, which Dipplin still has to worry about. Appleton can also run leftovers, so Dipplin unfortunately lives in the shadow of its cousin. At number 26, we have Bayonet, and Bayonet is what I like to call the borderline Pokemon. It's on the edge of me potentially acknowledging its niche is consistent, but also the fact that it's as bad as the C-rank warriors. But I'll continue to believe it has a more useful niche than the Pokemon below it. We must consider that Bayonet is a Pokemon with 115 base attack, access to Swords Dance, and priority that stifles Chandelure. Nothing really does what Bayonet does specifically, but again, any offensive Pokemon higher ranked than Bayonet is much more consistent at sweeping or wall breaking. At number 25, we have Berserker, and Berserker, unfortunately, or fortunately to be honest, has all the tools it wants for it to function, but it just falls short in this meta. It's one of two steel types, which is great for resistances against Pokemon like Yanmega especially, but the stats are just falling behind. It hits hard, but it's not a bulky steel type, so it fails to really use its typing to its advantage defensively. Offensively, Steel Stab is frankly quite horrendous in the overall metagame. Milotic walls you, Chandelure, even the likes of Morpeko resist your stab. Fortunately, Berserker has coverage to get around its mediocre stab, but why use a slow breaker with an awful stab when you could use Auroch or Primarina or Toxicroak even? At number 24, we have Ribombee, and Ribombee could rise in the ranks, but I personally have not seen it do anything too crazy. Ribombee is unique for being our only web setter. It's also currently the fastest one in the metagame. These traits enough carry it above Berserker and Bayonet easily, making me doubt whether it belongs in the lower B level. However, I just think other than setting webs, it really doesn't offer all too much. Defensively, stat and typing wise, is too frail and exploitable. The only thing I've seen people mention is this bulky Quiver Dance set, but if I'm losing to a set like that, my team is probably arse, I'm not gonna lie. At least it resists Sucker Punch, but still, if I want a fairy type special attacker, I will be using Primarina most of the time. At number 23, we have Magmortar, and we finally reached the higher level of B where a quarter of the metagame resides in, and Magmortar is at the bottom of it. Honestly, it's probably a better Pokemon than Mawile and Alolan Golem overall, but it's occupying the offensive fire type position when Chandelure deserves that spot 9 out of 10 times. Chandelure is, yes, a lot stronger and possesses a dual stab. It's also much better defensively, but if you want to use Magmortar over Chandelure, you won't be too bad off, to be honest. Magmortar trades Energy Ball for targeting waters and rocks for Thunderbolt and Focus Blast. It also has ground coverage in either Earthquake or Scorching Sands to hit opposing Chandelure. It can also run a funny belly drum set, which has seen zero play, but if I decide to bring it, don't get it twisted. I'm gonna pull up with that shit, I can't lie. At number 22, we have Cryogonal, and Cryogonal is probably one of the most overrated Pokemon this month, and I can see why. It's a fast and fat special, which is good at dealing with every single special attacker not named Scoville and Magmortar, and especially Chandelure. It has good utility in Defog, Rapid Spin, Haze, and Knockoff, and also has reliable recovery. In practice though, Cryogonal is somewhat easy to exploit. Ice typing is threatened by fire, fighting, and rock, and its defense stat is horrendous. Its passivity can also be exploited by a flip turn Milotic, which won't mind getting toxic if it can bring in Toxicroak. It's an alright Pokemon for what it can offer, but it's not splashable by any means in my opinion. At number 21, we have Mawile. Mawile, he almost got unemployed after the Lockix ban, I can't lie. But to be honest, Mawile should be lower on this list, but I've locked in to my tier list, so I can't really like change anything, unfortunately. Morwell was a lot better in the Lockix meta because it had Intimidate and a 4x bug resistance, so it could always take Lockix's bug attacks consistently while offering a whole bunch of utility like Knockoff, Stealth Rock, Super Fang and Pain Split. Now that Lockix is banned, Morwell doesn't particularly check anything else well other than like Jump Off and Morpeko, and to give it the benefit of the doubt, you know, you can still check Zorak without a fire type move, and it still has Sheer Force Life Orb sets, but its speed tier is still like pretty bad and it's not that bulky, so overall it just ends up being somewhat middling. At number 20, I almost forgot the number, we have Alolan Golem. I love Alolan Golem a lot, not as a Pokemon to be honest, but more what it does in the format. I believe wholeheartedly this is the best suicide lead this tier has, and it's very consistent at doing what it does. It just sets off rocks and then either dies or sets up sun for sun-based teams, but yeah, this is the typical set, Stealth Rock, Explosions, Custard Berry. So yeah, other than suicide lead sets, offensively it deserves some more respect. Its stabs in addition to EQ are unwallable, and it has a high attack stat and high electric damage output thanks to Galvanize. Rock Polish also patches up its speed tier issues, and being able to really scare waters is a very good thing if you don't die to Scald first. At number 19, we have Avalugg, and I used to think Avalugg was the best spinner until I realized Ice types were way too exploitable by Chandelure. Cryogonal can at least outrun Chandelure, knock off its item, and use Defog over Rapid Spin, but the only way Avalugg can punish Chandelure is either Mirror Coating from full HP or clicking Earthquake on the switch. EQ of course does a lot of damage, but you're missing a good move like Toxic out of the move pool. Either way, Avalugg is the tier's physical bastion, but when most of the top threats are special attackers, it may seem pretty bad. At number 18, we have Satitan, and Satitan is strong under Snow plus Veil, but we have to respect it, but getting it to that stage is not a consistent endeavour, and outside of Snow, it's very easy to deal with in my experience. There's some potential with a Sheer Force Life Orb set, which will have to be respected damage wise, but Milotic being around isn't fun for you, and being outsped by Chandelure, Toxicroak, Zorak, and even Magmortar is not a good look for you if Snow is not up. At number 17, we have Aurorus, and big boy Aurorus is at a halfway point in the video, and I think the only Aurora set worth running is the Power Herb Rock Polish Meteor Beam set. Aurorus is at that speed tier for doubling its speed, which allows it to run all possible Scarfers other than like +1 Yanmega and anything faster than Yanmega. A +1 boost to its special attack and strong ice type moves in Blizzard and Freeze Dry make Aurorus a threat a lot of teams can't deal with effectively if it gets going. For its higher consistency at sweeping, I've placed Aurorus higher than Titan. At number 16, we have Celebi, and Celebi spent most of the month on Fraud Watch, and in my last video I called it a fraud, but with the ban of Lockix, Celebi can finally have a lot more breathing room. Celebi is still a 600 base stat total monster which has a lot of positive traits. Is the sole psychic type in the tier, grass typing to beat the water types, it has setup opportunity in Calm Mind and Nasty Plot, has reliable recovery, and it also has Heal Bell for Cleric. Celebi can do it all like a jack of all trades, somewhat master of some. Celebi still has to worry about his bug weakness thanks to Yanmega, but it's not nearly as bad anymore, and Celebi can play around his ghost and dark weaknesses well enough, so this has been one of the greatest comebacks in 35 Pokes history. At number 15, we have Guzzlord, and with Celebi, I said it was one of the greatest comebacks in 35 Pokes history, but I think the general opinion of Guzzlord is the greatest comeback in 35 Pokes history. This is the third meta since 35 Pokes' inception where Guzzlord has been rolled, and in its last two meta games, it was an awful Pokemon, and everyone assumed it was going to be the case this time as well. However, as the month has gone on, Guzzlord nicely sorts itself into the metagame and can check some of the tier's scariest Pokemon. Chandelure's only way of dealing with Guzzlord is tricking a choice item. It resists water, and his bulk fences massive HP means it's never dying to a +2 Caracosta. It also keeps Zorak, Morpeko, Roserade and Scovillain under wraps, and is like the only Pokemon that can check so many of these Pokemon in one slot. I must apologise to Guzzlord for the disrespect throughout the year, I'm not gonna lie. At number 14, we have Rotom Frost, and we've reached the heights of the A Mountain, and Rotom Frost may not be close to the summit, but is a good starting point. Rotom has the famous Bolt Beam combination as stab, and obviously other than itself, nothing resists its stabs. This leads Nasty Plot sets to be quite hard to deal with defensively, especially in the metagame where some of our best defensive Pokemon are Water, Grass or Dragon types. Its speed tier also lands it in a nice position, being 1 base speed faster than Toxicroak and faster than both Magmortar and Chandelure, which means that they need Choice Scarfs in order to revenge kill a Rotom that set up a Nasty Plot. Rotom is also one of the format's most efficient Scarfers. Honestly, what keeps Rotom lower is honestly Blizzard's accuracy. Missing it is the worst feeling in the world, and also the mons higher than it have fewer flaws and end up being more useful in the long run. At number 13, we have Appleton, and like Guzzlord, no one was expecting Appleton to do much of anything this month, but it started off with me using Appleton as a Jolteon check since you 4x resist electric and Signal Beam just bounces off you. Then Jolteon got banned, so what was I using Appleton for exactly? Chandelure, of course. Thick Fat makes your honorary fire resist, and Appleton's solid bulk means you could 1v1 Chandelure and recover off all of its damage. Appleton overall is just a bulky defensive piece in the tier that can dish out respectable damage, heal itself, and also check the water types other than Primarina. We're going to group number 12 and number 11 together because they both operate under the same function as Sun's Chlorophyll Sweepers. We got Jumpluff and we got Scovillain. Weather seems to be dominated by snow, so people really sleep on the power of the sun, but if there's no Aurorus, Sun is going to stay out the majority of the game. Scovillain is generally just a Oko machine if it doesn't face a Guzzlord, and Jumpluff cannot be revenge killed under Sun since it's too fast and possesses Sleep Powder. Both of them can't be any higher due to their reliance on Sun, especially Scovillain, but Jumpluff out of Sun is still the third fastest Pokemon in the tier, and Sleep is as controversial as it usually is. At number 10, we have Garbodor, and I'm honestly surprised Garbodor made it into the top 10. Congratulations. Maybe some of you think Garbodor is way too high, but I think it deserves its position. I jumped from whether Roserade or Garbodor is the best spike in the format, but the reason I was leaning towards Garbodor is that it's just bulkier physically than Roserade, especially now when Toxicroak is in the picture. Garbodor can keep Toxicroak in check and keep itself healthy with Pain Split. Gunk Shot is also a move most Pokemon don't want to switch into, not to get chipped too much or risk a 30% poison chance. At number 9, we have Roserade, and I've placed Roserade above Garbodor because its grass typing and speed to have played a much bigger role in this month than what Garbodor has done overall. Like I said with all the grass types, good into Milotic and Primarina, and threaten Caracosta of course. Roserade also has Sleep Powder and potential Stun Spore usage, which will make any Pokemon Roserade forces in to regret their life decisions. Garbodor ends up being a bit too passive in that regard, because if a Pokemon that can handle Gunk Shot like Fizdef Milotic comes in, Garbodor just loses all momentum then and there. Roserade at least can put in something to sleep, then hit back with its stabs very hard. At number 8, we have Zoroark, and we've reached like 70% of the way to the summit with the high A Pokemon, and Zoroark is starting us off. In the Lockix meta, Zoroark was almost as broken as Lockix in my opinion. You would just disguise Zoroark as Lockix, and the mind games that were enforced was low-key criminal, but that's more of a Lockix issue than Zoroark's to be fair. However, even outside of illusion tactics, Zoroark is a strong and fast offensive threat, which doesn't have a lot of defensive answers due to its set versatility. It can go physical and special with set options, swords, dance and nasty plot respectively. Scarf Pursuit can deal with Chandelure as well. The only drawback of Zoroark is its low bulk. It can't really switch into much of anything other than resisted hits, which still chunk it somewhat hard. At number 7, we have Yanmega, and Yanmega is frankly the second scariest setup sweeper in the tier for good reason. Initially at the start of the month, Yanmega was feared for its tinted lens set, just like Lockix came to do before its ban, but its Throat Spray speed boost, which ended up being the scariest set. It would be many games where the opponent's defensive pieces are chipped and Yanmega would just come in, boost its special attack and kill everything in the last couple of turns, and it was impossible to stop because at +2, no speed control option is outrunning it. Despite Bug Flying being seen as bad over the years offensively, it hits neutrally into most of the tier, and it has coverage in Shadow Ball and Giga Drain to hit things harder super effectively. At number 6, we have Morpeko, and Morpeko made an appearance in December 2023's meta and it was a subpar option. It came back a year later and said it's going to be strong this time around. It's the most consistent removal option in the tier and surprisingly hits really hard with its signature move Aura Wheel, which I forget clocks in at 110 base power with a speed boosting effect. Morpeko keeps the waters in check quite well, and Electric Dark hitting neutrally into the tier means it can revenge kill most offensive threats quite comfortably, like Rotom Frost, Yanmega, Magmortar and more. Morpeko's negative bulk is its biggest drawback, but access to Parting Shot can help it get out of bad situations and assist its teammates greatly. At number 5, we have Primarina, and Primarina is our 5th best Pokemon this month, and I couldn't see it being outside of the top 5. Look at the Pokemon list and find me anything that resists its stabs. There's only one Pokemon, and it's Roserade. Roserade is also hit by Primarina Psychic Noise or Ice Beam, so you can see why it's so dangerous. Its Calm Mind sets can consistently win games because it can invest all into its bulk, and it still won't be lacking in the damage department. It's also naturally specially bulky, so it can handle Yanmega, Zoroark and Chandelure quite efficiently. At number 4 we have Caracosta, and Caracosta after the Jolteon ban has been the scariest setup sweeper in the format. Despite Caracosta's very below average speed tier, at +2, it only fails to outspeed 3 Pokemon after a boost, and one of those is 34th place. Jumpluff has a type advantage, and Rabombi dies to +2 Aqua Jet. Caracosta essentially forces most well-structured teams to have speed control so they don't lose to it outright. Hence why I rated Rotom Frost, because it's bulky enough not to get OHKO'd by +2 Aqua Jet and also possesses a type advantage. Even outside of Shell Smashing, Caracosta has been effective as an Assault Vest user, being able to tank 4x non-stab grass attacks from Yanmega, Zoroark and Chandelure somewhat comfortably and being able to OHKO them back. Both Solid Rock and Sturdy are two very solid abilities, and Caracosta is a dangerous threat all teams must be afraid of. At number 3 we have Milotic, and I couldn't put a defensive Pokemon in the top 2, but Milotic is the defensive Pokemon this month. It is very consistent with reliable recovery, great natural special bulk, so it can lean into physical defense, though especially defensive is better since our top threats in the metagame are special attackers. It is far from passive because of Stab Scald coming off of 100 special attack is not weak whatsoever. Its ability Marvel Scale makes it even bulkier on the physical side, and then is genuinely hard to take down if you don't target its 2 weaknesses. For its ability to keep a lot of the dangerous Pokemon in check and its high longevity, Milotic lands itself at number 3 very easily. At number 2 we have Toxicroak, and Toxicroak and Milotic could be interchangeable depending on what you think, especially since Toxicroak hasn't been in the meta since the beginning, but offensively, Toxicroak is another Pokemon that is hard to keep down defensively, while it is able to take advantage of the tier's most consistent wall, Milotic. Dry Skin means Milotic cannot Flip Turn or Scald Toxicroak, and Toxicroak's poison typing means Toxic doesn't work either. Milotic has to run Dragon Tail or Alluring Voice, or Toxicroak will use it as setup fodder. To focus on Toxicroak itself, Toxicroak sets up either on the physical or special side, and you'll never really know which one it is until it clicks the moves. Like all offensive mons, Toxicroak does have to worry about his flaws, like his average speed stat and faster things packing psychic coverage like Roserade and Zoroark, or just his general frailty compared to something like Okidogi, which was in the meta previously but had a lot more bulk compared to Toxicroak. At number 1, the best Pokemon in the 35 Pokes December 2024 metagame has to be Chandelure. Out of any Pokemon I've discussed that wasn't banned, Chandelure has had the most profound effect on team building, which I consider to be very important in 35 Pokes. It's one of the main reasons why Milotic sees a lot of usage, is the main contributor for Guzzlord finally being good in 35 Pokes. What does it come down to though? It's high damage output. Its stabs are only walled by Guzzlord, and it has coverage and Energy Ball to target other water types. It can go Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, Calm Mind, even fully physically defensive to bait in its usual checks like Dark types, and even without investment, Chandelure can OHKO Morpeko with Fire Blast. Chandelure is currently seen on 53% of all teams, over hundreds and almost 1,000 games, and that isn't for no reason. Chandelure currently is the best Pokemon in 35 Pokes December 2024, and I don't believe that's going to change anytime soon. Alright, we finally finished. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like down below if you guys did, and join the kingdom yet again. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. And if you guys disagree or agree with my list, type down comments down below. I want to see you guys engage, and I want to see you guys like commenting if you agree or disagree, just to start some dialogue. I'm always willing to talk with you guys. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.